just so we have a little tour of the website so you know where to find things when you're looking for things. Okay, so basically, this is kind of a refreshed design that happened in the last, I guess, 5 years or so. So basically, it's cut into pieces where you've got About Us. You're going to find anything from calendars, contacting your district chief's information. Contacts are there. Any meeting minutes are in there, as well as agendas. Okay, so if there is an AGM coming up, the agenda will be put on there. If you can also see, as a handicapper, you can see all the central council agendas, executive agendas. So if you're aware that there's a meeting coming up and you're interested in what they're going to be talking about, it's all up there. A little bit of history per flow is up there. Different articles. Information about a club who might want to join. I know that we have a couple new clubs here joining us today. Okay, and there's information on there. There's information about projects, which I really should be updating. It's a little lack right now. There are central council projects. We've had US sailing projects that we were doing. We are currently working with US sailing at all. Anything to do with handicapping, appeals and information about that, boats and classes, and then it actually divides it up into, handicap reviews, different kinds of keels. There's actually pictures up there of all the different types of keels so that you can get a better idea of what keels and what you would look for. Description of one design classes and how we address those things. So there's articles on there. There's pictures of props, and then there's sails and poles, and that gets into all kinds of measuring, and there's ORC sail measurement videos that you can look at. As a group, the executive have talked many years about making our own videos, but space requirements, et cetera, it's just never been done. There's pictures and specifics about jibs, asymmetric spinnakers. I mean, there's all kinds of information on handicapping in there. And then goes into certificates for racing. That's more for an owner if they're interested. There's lots and lots of information, FAQs for district chiefs, handicappers, and just people in general. All kinds of common questions that I've got, I threw out there. There's a forum that your district chiefs would tend to use this to get a rating done on a boat without holding a meeting. But with Zoom, we're finding that a lot of the district chiefs aren't as hesitant to hold a meeting because they don't have to get people together in a specific spot. It used to be they'd have to get everybody to come together, have a meeting. So this isn't actually, the forum's not used as often. Then there is, under handicapping, there's a handicappers section. This is where you can also log in, and this is where you would access the handicappers worksheet. Okay, I'm going to log in after, and I'll go into that, because what's going to happen is when you've logged in, that menu item will now expand, and there'll be all kinds of tools under there. Then there's all kinds of information about races and scoring, club race results, and how they got to be sent in, information about the time on time, and an events calendar, which is the same as the calendar that we have out under About Us. News is basically the front page, like the home page is anything to do with news. So anything that's coming out of myself, admin wise, or like we had a big thing on COVID-19 and all the updates on that. This is all information that's coming out of admin, and it splits down into central council, the executive, and that's basically it. Then you've got publications. There's all kinds of articles if you're interested in reading and you can't sleep or something. That's a good place to go and try to get some sleep. All the forms, the initial assignment form, the appeal form, sailmaker's form is all under there. The handicapper's manual is split into 4 sections. So you've got basically part one. Part one basically covers philosophy, members' dues, applications for handicaps, etc. Part two of the manual is where you're going to find all the details about getting your sales rated. All the adjustment tables are in there for the spinnakers, the props, whatever it has to do that actually affects the certificate is in part two. You can look at that at your leisure. If you have specific questions later on, you can always ask me. Then the manual has the bylaws in it. This is basically information about the functions of PERF, as far as the executive, central council, the districts, the rules for being a member or a provisional member, and that kind of information. And then there's the appendage. The appendage basically has anything that didn't fit in the stuff before. So policy statements that have come out over the years, any kind of formulas, okay, where talk about conversions from IOR over into PERF. If you have an IOR number and you need to convert it to PERF, that's where you go. That's where I go because I don't know all these formulas. And when I need to convert something for some reason, that's where I go. The Kramer MPR, it's a handicap calculating tool that we've used for years and years and years. It's part of the worksheet. We might get into that today, but I doubt it. The VPP for calculating the NFS delta, the formula is in there. And then all the One Design class classes that we recognize and that we have set ratings for. And then anything to do with fees and how they've changed over the years is in there. Okay.
Diana.
Yep.
Diana, this is Steve. What's VPP stand for?
Velocity Prediction Program.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. So that's the
Diana?
Handicappers net. Yeah.
Hey, this is Jeff. I'm pretty new, but this was useful to me, and maybe it is to other people or not. I took all those manuals and merged them all into one PDF and had them printed at Staples and bound for like $11. So if you're like me and you like to have something to hold in your hands and look at while you're doing stuff, I thought that was pretty great.
Yeah. Actually, if you look in the appendage there under fees, if you want it printed and you want me to send it to you, I can bind it. I have the binders and I have the covers and everything here. I can mail them out.
I should have read it before I printed it. Probably been a lot easier.
You know what? I've just found over the years, I mean, it used to be, because I've been doing this a long time. Okay. So, I mean, this is pre the internet and everything, showing my age here. But I used to actually print that every year and send it out to every handicapper. So I have the binders for the edging. I've got the covers still. I mean, if you need a copy or you know somebody who needs a copy, I can send it out to you. Just ask me.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Race analysis reports. These are all the reports that are printed after the analysis is complete. This is another area when you are a registered handicapper with a member club, not a provisional, sorry, provisional people, but when you can actually get in and log in, that set of reports also expands so that you can see individual boats' performance in a race, okay, not just by class. Most of the race analysis is strictly by class. You've got the summary, and it basically just shows you all, like, for instance, the One Design 35s, how they did for the last 5 years, okay? This will also show you if there is a review being done on it. It'll say new class. There's a review being done on that. There's a central council review being done on this. Now, this is from 2019 because we didn't do an analysis in 2020, and would appear we're not going to do one in 21 either. So, but I mean, if you're interested in looking at the numbers and how a boat's performing, or a class is performing, this is the report. When you log in, and I'll get into that, there are additional reports as well. Okay, so searches and queries. This is what I call, or we call OLC. Okay, or part of OLC. We've got searches for certificates. Just to get into this really quickly, I'm just going to show you one little thing because this is interesting. Okay, so for the average person looking in, if the certificate it hasn't been renewed, it shows this little pop-up and says your certificate is currently unavailable. And it 9 times out of 10 because it's expired, and has a little blurb to tell the owner to go contact the handicapper to get it renewed. Okay. Oh. Okay, so once you once the certificate has been renewed for the season, then they'll be able to see it. Okay, as a handicapper, you will always be able to see it once you are logged in. Okay, and this is why I wanted to point this out to you. I'm going to show you that same certificate, but I'll show it to you later, and I'll show you where you can, as a handicapper, see it. So anyways, there's class queries, as you probably have figured out, that you can look up class information. The handicap, the SP for the classes are not listed for the general public, but as a handicapper, when you log in, you get to see the ratings. Okay. Here's a list of just handicappers that are registered on the website, so that if somebody wants to go and get in contact with somebody from Barrie Yacht Club, then you'll be able to get in contact with them. These are member clubs. So when you're in here, in February every year, I send out an invoice to your club that has to be paid, and you can always go in here and check to see if it's been paid. Okay. You can also see as a handicapper, you can also see everybody's invoice. So if you wanted to know what Ashbridge is paid for the year, if you're logged in and you look at Ashbridge's, you're also going to see a spot here where it says invoice, and you'd be able to look at that invoice. Okay, so you'll be able to look at yours or anyone else's. And race results status. Here's another thing that is helpful to you. Once you've sent in race results, now I'm assuming they're going to expect race results this year. It will be logged in here. As you see in 2020, they were logged as received. Oakville Club year received was 2020. The date it was received, and it was received but not analyzed due to COVID. Okay, so any of the status of your race results is in here. If it's in process, it'll not have a date that it was completed, and you'll know that it's still in process. Because the problem is what happens when we get race results at the end of the year, especially, and when we're actually processing them, we usually get bombarded by them, and they just go in a queue, and we just keep going and working through them. So they could sit there for a couple of weeks before they're even processed. Okay, so that's pretty much the basic website.